Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners. Just want to give you a little information about the mission of the Newsa-Cast. Our mission stems from the mission of the Red Smith Banquet, and that mission was to support youth sports in the Fox Valley. Over the 57 years of its existence, we've been honored to give out over $1 million to various youth sports organizations throughout the Fox Valley. The Newsa-Cast is looking to continue that mission and support youth sports as well. You can help us do that by donating to the Newsa-Cast and the Red Smith Sports Banquet.
On today's Newsa-Cast, Milo Music is here. We've made it. The best week of the year. And we kick it off with a local artist who's been around for several decades now, Eric Krueger. Tosh and I take an old look at new, presented by Raleigh Winter and Associates. Our Red Smith Banquet throwback brings us back to 1993. Jerry Kramer, legendary Packer lineman. Tosh and I, we end the show like we always do with a little It's Forgotten and I'm Never Forgetting. So what do you say, folks? Let's get this show on the road.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, I love repetition and things that I'm comfortable with, but at the same time, I really enjoy not being comfortable and being outside of my comfort zone a little bit. And if that means it's just a new venue or if it's just a new, it's a different crowd, every night could be totally different, even if you're playing the same spot.
Welcome to the Newsa-Cast. What is a Newsa-Cast? It's where we bring local folk stories to life through conversation.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, welcome to another episode of the Newsa-Cast. This is our I suppose we could call this our Arts Newsa-Cast.
Yes.
Or our Mile of Music Newsa-Cast this week, as we head into Mile of Music Week here in Appleton.
Best week of the year, Tosh. Some say it's Christmas. I say it's this week.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you think about the, first of all the amazing musicians that we have coming to Appleton, but the economic impact in Appleton is amazing. I mean, you're talking over 100,000 people coming to Appleton to listen to music, which is awesome. Very cool.
It is. I always like hearing the numbers after. I mean, every hotel room is full. I mean, think of all the beer and booze and water and just all of that stuff that gets sold. I mean, the bars are packed Wednesday through Sunday, I would say. It's amazing. It's awesome. It is. And I know it's a lot of work. I mean, I know the service industry just gets beat during those days.
Yes.
We all have fun and they just their bodies get hammered. It's tough work, but
this week keeps some businesses in business, to be honest. So that is a cool thing as well. But,
no, absolutely is. It's huge for business, and some of the ones that don't want to partake in it, they have that option as well. They don't, it's not required of anybody. But you're right. It helps the bottom line, no question about that. Because we like to listen to music and have some refreshments while doing that.
Yeah, and to kick off Mile of Music, we are interviewing Eric Krueger this week. Eric Krueger has been part of the music scene in Appleton for a very long time. So you're going to hear all about Eric and what he's done. I mean, actually from like high school on up, which is a really cool, and it's a good interview. Eric's very well spoken, and it was very fascinating listening to everything that he's done.
It was. I almost had to apologize to him in the beginning. I feel like I should know more about him because we're a little bit older than he is, but we sort of felt like we were kind of on the same scene, same places that he was playing. We were kind of all over it and never really connected. But it was a great interview. You're right, Tosh. And he's been playing music for a long, long time and just killing it. So we had fun. We had fun that interview for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, just some of the stuff that's happening. I know it was prior weekend, but Art in the Park happened.
Right.
That's a 2-day event now. It used to only be 1 day. 60, what did I say are here 65 years, 67 years, something like that, which is incredible.
It was. It's another fantastic event. City Park and some of the blocks right around that. I have to change my bike route to get to the post office because I can't get through all the tents. That's okay. But you're right. You're right. There's so many artists. It's incredible. So from birdhouses to paintings to wind chimes to you name it, it's there every single year. So pretty cool. Another great event in this city. Yeah,
like I said, this is kind of the art episode. We look at music. We're talking a little bit about art itself. A great event put on by the Trout Art Center. So lots of cool things happening in Appleton during the summer, and these are just a couple of them for sure.
Hashtag art rocks.
And, we also got to mention and got to talk a little bit about Packer training camp. It's a weekend now, and all kinds of good things happening, lots of excitement. And I'm sure it was, 200 and some days.
Yeah, I forgot to look at the clock, Tosh, before we hit record. But
yeah, thanks. I'm glad you didn't.
It is though on the morning news now. I've noticed there's a clock in the upper right corner of the countdown to the NFL draft. So it's pretty epic, epic indeed. But
sure,
yeah, I mean, training camp is underway. It's going along, right, Tosh? They open in Brazil and
right.
It
hopefully. Hopefully we're not bit by the injury bug in training camp and guys stay healthy. That's kind of a key. And they make it through preseason so they can start the season on a good note.
Absolutely. Yeah. That we'll see what happens, Tosh. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. But they I don't even know what year this is for the Packers, 100 and something, right?
I think the Packers were officially founded in 1919.
Well,
so it's still a lot. It's close.
It
is 100. It is 100 over 100 years. You're right.
You guys always told me there's no math. There's no math.
There's no math. Yeah, it is. They're founded in 1919, so it is over 100 years of Packer football. So
sports math says you're correct. So we'll go with it, Tosh. Over 100 years for the Packers, the Acme,
absolutely,
the Acme Packers.
So yeah, lots of good stuff. Milwaukee Brewers are plugging away as well. Keep that, coming out of the All-Star break, keeping a nice lead on the Cardinals, but it's closer than I would like it to be. I'd like him to be up by like 10, but it's single digits. So hopefully they can keep moving along.
No, absolutely. It's it's great. It's always fun when the Wisconsin teams are playing well. Makes the season's great and exciting.
It does.
It's fun to watch. And if
people are happy,
and if they're not, well, we've got great music. So that always makes us happy.
We do have great music. So, as we get into this episode, don't forget to go to Mile of Music. Eric Krueger is playing at 7:30 with his band, The Sesh, at Riverside Bar and Grill, right?
Yeah. Riverside Bar and Grill, right across from Pullman's, and the Stone Arch is right there.
Yep, Tandem is right there. So,
yeah, exactly.
Go check it out. It's a great venue to listen to some music outside. And a nice place. So yeah, check it out. Come and listen to this Thursday morning. Come and check it out Thursday night. We'll be there listening to Eric, and it's going to be a great time.
Everybody we've talked to, Tosh, with Lily Collins, I know she's playing. Digstown, who everybody knows Digstown's our band. They're playing. And then to boot, even if it's not Mile of Music, you'll hear Eric talks about A-Town Unplugged. I mean, they're playing all over the place this summer and this fall. Digstown's doing the same thing, and Lily's playing all over until she leaves for college here in a couple of weeks, I would assume.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great bands around here that are happening beyond Mile, and it's
right. There's music all year round here in Appleton.
Oh, there absolutely is. It's so pleasing. I love that, Tosh.
Yep. Well, as the signs say, I can hear the music playing.
Right.
So we better get on with this episode.
Let's do that. It's that time again, once again, for an old look at new. Brought to you by Raleigh Winter and Associates, celebrating 55 years. Did you know that in 1962, an Appleton junior high school teacher with a strong work ethic started a residential realty company? His name, Raleigh Winter. 3 generations later, the Winters still hold true to a strong work ethic and an excellent reputation in the community. Today, Raleigh Winter and Associates remain actively involved in providing retail, office, and industrial users an affordable, well-designed working environment through the creation and/or acquisition of quality real estate in the Fox cities and even beyond new. So what do you say? Let's take an old look at new.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, it is time for the old look at new, where we take a little look at history of this area, whether it be Northeast Wisconsin, or wherever. Joe, what are you looking at for your old look at new this week?
Well, Tosh, you know how we just finished the safety in football, and I've got football on the mind. And when I think of football, I often think of food. People know that I love food. And some of that comes from my growing up years. And I remember this place vaguely, but back in the 60s, back in the Packer heyday, right? The glory years, there was actually a few places, but the one I remember the most is the left guard, Fuzzy Thurston, number 63. That was his place. But Bill Martini and a good friend of ours, his son, Tom Martini, they're still in the area, but they were really the restaurant folks that ran the restaurant. But I stumbled across this group, and I wanted to make everybody aware that the Packers, the left guard, Max McGee, Paul Horney, these guys were in together, and they had restaurants in the area, and they called it the left guard. And there was one in Menasha, downtown, somewhere. It was downtown. I can't remember which building. There was also one out on West College Avenue, the Best Western out there. That's the one I remember. That became then Martini's. But I was looking, I found a menu, Tosh, from the 60s. It's awesome. It's so awesome. Shrimp cocktail, 75 cents, Tosh. Oh, so good. Marinated herring, 75 cents. But just the prime rib. Any idea how much a prime rib was?
Absolutely no clue.
Prime ribs of beef, $3.75. Are you kidding me? A filet, a Packer backer favorite filet. Under or over $4?
$4, right on.
$3.95. You were close. Unbelievable. This was 1963, I think. 1963, wow. 1965. But just and there's a lot of history with those restaurants, and we have talked about the 1,000-Yard Club in years past. But I just wanted to shout out the left guard. I know Fred Thurston, who is Fuzzy's grandson. He's part of Red Smith, and he checks us out here on the Newsa-Cast once in a while, and Fred's a great friend, and I hope he likes what we're doing. So shout out to Fred, and shout out to the left guard, Tosh. That was a great place in my growing up years. I love the 70s going out there, and then later on Martini's as well.
Absolutely.
Low key, one of the best Sunday brunches ever, in addition to, of course, the prime rib and filet that were not $3.95. But well, Tosh, how about you? What are you taking a look at?
Well, I'm going to go back to July 27th. I know it's like a day before the week this comes out, on that week, I should say. July 27th, 1953. And that's a pretty significant date in U.S. history because that is the end of the Korean War. And, it's kind of, I think they say it's a forgotten war. But we had 801 Wisconsinites that were killed. 4,286 were wounded, 111 were captured, and 84 listed as missing in action. So there are a lot of Wisconsinites that took part in that Korean War, and that ended at July 27th, 1953.
I have to kind of say that is sort of the forgotten war, isn't it? You really don't think about it much. That is too bad.
No, absolutely. But yeah, it's obviously significant when you're talking about 801 Wisconsinites that were killed in that battle. That's a significant amount.
Boy, that really is. All right, Tosh. Well, now I'm kind of bummed out, but that was a good old look at new presented by Raleigh Winter and Associates.
We are super excited here at the Newsa-Cast to be interviewing Eric Krueger this week. He is a musician that has a lot of history here in the Valley. That started all the way back when he was in high school with Sunday Flood. It was a regional touring band. He's been in A-Town Unplugged for, I can't remember what he said, 25 years. He is the owner with his wife of the Crystal Ballroom, and also in another band that is continuing to put out stuff, and that's Listening Party. So he is awesome. He talks about a lot of venues, talks a lot of history of music in the Fox Valley. We really enjoyed interviewing him, and we think you're going to enjoy this interview.
It's a pleasure to meet you. There's a saying I know in show business where, the hardest working man in show business, and they, Sammy Davis Jr. or whoever that person might be, but I think it's literally you. I mean, your schedule is absolutely nuts. Like you played 2 gigs yesterday, didn't you? Or Saturday, one of the days this weekend, you played 2 gigs.
Played 5 total this weekend. So it was actually 3 yesterday.
Wow.
We were at Waverly Beach on Friday. We were at Harbor Bar in Stockbridge on Saturday, and then we were at High Cliff in the morning. It's the 11th year we've done the Cliff Runner 10K. So we play at the finish line, and everybody who participates in the race, we give them a little bit of entertainment as they come across, kind of encourage them to finish that last final stretch, and play some upbeat music to kind of keep them rolling to the end. So that's always fun. Then we had to boogie over to Paperfest in Kimberly.
Sure.
And played a couple hours there, and then we went actually back to High Cliff, but at the golf course restaurant outside the patio. So it's definitely I definitely keep busy. That's for sure.
It's nice to see High Cliff kind of making a comeback. I mean, back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, that was the place to be. It was awesome. Banquets and great golf course, and
they're doing a really good job. They just did some remodeling in there, and I actually know the new owners quite well. I used to work with Jesse Tressler. His name is a very good guy, and he's had it for about a year. And just a great guy. They're putting a lot of money into it, just cleaning things up. And of course, he's just an avid golfer, so he loves to hit the links, and anything that goes along with it, he's keeping busy. So it's cool.
Do you play golf? Do you have time to play golf?
Poorly. I do not have time to play golf. I would be better if I had time. But it's poorly, unfortunately, much to my chagrin. I would love to be able to do it, especially because I live not too far from High Cliff. I live just past Sherwood. So if I really could walk there if I wanted to, but I just I keep busy between the bands and my day job, and then the Crystal Ballroom. It's a whirlwind. Plus, of course, my family. So it's nonstop.
I mean, every one of those things is a full-time job. That's why it's nuts that you're able to keep that schedule and then just do it well. And then, I mean, have you always just gigged that much? I mean, is that something that's just playing live, basically what you live for?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely keeps me young, as they say. I mean, I've been doing it now close to 30 years, just about, playing out with, it started in a local rock and roll band in high school. And, we really kicked it up a notch as we kind of, graduated. And then we're like, should we give this a shot and go and do a couple of Midwest tours and see if we could stretch our legs a little bit and, live that rock and roll dream of like getting signed by a record label, if you remember those things.
Right. Oh, sure.
All of that. Right. And, as we got older and, priorities change, and, there's girls, and there's all of a sudden wives, and then there's families, and then there's divorces, and all these things that go on with 4 or 5 different people that you play with.
Right.
It's hard to keep something going. So that band was called Sunday Flood. We were an active band for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And then, as that kind of trickled out, there was other projects that I've been involved with. Now I've actually been with A-Town Unplugged for 20 years.
Right.
Leading the Blinds now been 14 years. And then obviously my solo stuff I've done, since I started playing, which was 28 years ago.
If we get right to the roots, I mean, so Sunday Flood, so Treehouse, was that basically your first band? I mean, that's middle school we're talking about?
Yeah, we're talking, I was a sophomore, freshman and sophomore year high school was Treehouse.
Wow.
And it was So I was from Appleton, and then the other guys in the band were kind of scattered throughout the Fox Valley. So Kaukauna, Kimberly, Little Chute. And they were all actually a few years older than me. So the band didn't really last long because here I was freshman, sophomore year, and they were about ready to go off to college. So we got a real summer of, just trying to go for it. We were really learning our craft. Everybody, even those guys being a little older than me, it was really like one of their, attempts at sort of honing in how to write songs together. Like they were doing other bands where, playing other people's music, cover bands, etc. And they kind of went through a couple singers, then they found me and we started writing some songs. We played some other songs, kind of hone our craft. It was that early 90s, mid 90s alternative movement. Yep. And it was a really, really fun time. But like I said, that lasted about a summer. And coincidentally, I ran into a childhood friend who I hadn't seen in a few years. He was really, really into skateboarding. And he actually ended up turning out to be my bandmate in Sunday Flood. So I ran into him at the parking lot in high school. And he said, "Hey, I got a band. Do you want to play a show together?" Because he heard that I was playing in a band that was Treehouse, a band called Semicircle. And that band was starting to fall apart. So we shared one bill out at Ryan's Bar in Combined Locks. And you guys remember that place?
Absolutely.
Be a mecca around here for live music. And so we got to play a couple of shows together. And when that band fell apart, he's like, "You know what? I understand that, your band is falling apart too. Why don't we try this?" And next thing you know, we got together. We wrote like 4 songs in a night. It was Thanksgiving night of 95. After everybody had their family meals, we went and we just felt it. It was like lightning in a bottle. We just all had this thing that you just always aim for. It was just like this unspoken, like, we weren't trying to sound like anybody. We weren't trying to emulate our heroes or anything. We were just kind of putting ideas out there together, and it just became this like cohesive thing. And next thing you know, we put on an album and started playing shows, and then the cycle just kept repeating. So
that's cool.
At that age, when you're that young, I mean, have you always been creative and just kind of good at that, feeling the songs? Just, has there always been something inside you that turns out to be music?
Yeah, it was always music. And I guess the creation kind of came along as I grew older. I mean, I started like just being exposed to music from my like extended family. I have cousins who are musicians and aunts and uncles and, my mother and, all these people kind of just on my periphery who were either, singing in their church choirs, or like a few of my cousins who were much older than me, just, from the big, large extended family that we had, they had this big swing band. Like, I mean, like it's like a 12-piece or something like that. And they were playing, cool big band stuff. And I remember being, 7, 8, 9 years old and just being like completely captivated by it. And like, oh my gosh, these guys are my relatives, and they're having our, like these wedding receptions for all our cousins and all these things. And that was really like the thing that kind of got the bug going. I was like, wow, that's like, this is entertainment, and it's like live energy and creation together, and like, this ensemble feeling. I was just like, wow, look at all these people together doing one thing together. Like a goal, kind of. It's like a team effort, like one goal in mind, right? But then, as I grew older, then I got into Appleton Boy Choir, and I really got, involved in, learning how to use my voice, obviously, and then having that feeling again of an ensemble where you have, 100 kids together, 100 voices that just come together as one. And next thing you know, you're like creating this sense of community and like everything that goes along with it. That was really neat. And then, through high school, we had, varsity men's chorus, again, 90, 100 guys. Right. All together, just like, that sort of thing. And then it was quartets that were branched off of that, and learning how to sing and harmonize. And, but yeah, as I got to be an adolescent though, like 10, 11, 12 years old, there was a local rock and roll scene that was just a little young to really be a part of it. But having an older brother who's 5 years older than me, I started just kind of like pestering him, like, what are you going to do tonight? It's like, well, my friends are in this band. And they're playing, VFW halls and Blue Jay Bowl and Menasha, and they're playing, all these just local, just anywhere that people could, I guess, be convinced to let youth have a night for 4 or 5 hours with a really little PA. And I was hooked from that. There was a lot of just really great talent from around here. I mean, there just always has been. And some of the local bands just really inspired me. And next thing you know, by flash forward, 4 years from 12 to 16, that's where I got, really involved in writing myself. It was like,
Are you playing guitar through that time? Is that when you're learning guitar as well, or what instruments?
I was primarily a vocalist at that time, and I was learning how to play the bass guitar. My brother was going back to that, like his friends, they were all in these bands, and he was trying to start a band too. So he was learning how to play bass, and then, he would be busy going chase after girls or whatever. And he was leaving bass in the basement. And here I am 12 years old, like, well, I'm going to learn how to do this thing. So I sat and just taught myself how to do it. I'd put on records that I liked and kind of just, fumbled my way through it. And then flash forward to Treehouse, that was just singing. But then Sunday Flood, I started as a vocalist, and then we wanted to have a second guitar to just add to the layers of what we were trying to accomplish with writing and a little bit more, intricate things. And I don't want to use the term progressive, but just like extra layers. So again, I just kind of figure out how to put my fingers at the right spot just based on the rudimentary bass playing skills that I had. Yeah. And the other guitar player in my band, Mike Allen, again, childhood friend since, we were in third grade, similar story. I mean, he helped me. He's like, no, we just got to move those fingers here. You hear what that is? This is an A. And okay, what does that mean? Because, being a vocalist, you're not really trained in music theory. It's like, right, you're taught how to sing good.
Right.
They don't not like in in an orchestra or actually like a wind band or what have you, where they really push music theory. It seemed like choral instruction is just not as intricate, at least for me. So I didn't really learn the ins and outs until it was in the band setting. And then it was, here, let's figure out how to play guitar. So I've been doing, that was about 16, 17 when I started playing guitar.
So you guys have this band, you're extremely popular in this area. How difficult was it for you to find places to play, the venues back then? I mean, we had a lot of venues, small venues, a lot of all ages venues back then, which we unfortunately don't have a lot of right now.
Right.
What was your process? What were you guys doing? Just knocking on doors, or?
Pretty much. Yeah. It was a lot of collaboration and creativity on how you could reach out, like there was networking. Having so many people who were in other bands was like, well, you tried and, ask this place. And, oh, well, I heard that Ryan's Bar is booking shows. Okay, really? He has Dry Night? Okay, let's try that. And then it was Blue Moon Coffee Shop, Nina. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll try that. And then, oh, well, we know somebody who owns New Moon in Oshkosh. And like, it was just one of those things where, you'd reach out and say, hey, we're going to have a gathering, and it's going to be well-behaved youth as best as you could try to convince them. VFW halls, whatever you could do, basements. Some of my favorite memories are playing just, in a basement of a house where you didn't have quite that concern of, say, a business owner. It was maybe somebody's parents,
right?
But if they could be convinced that it was going to be a tame situation. I mean, there's still volume when you have loud rock and roll, but that was the whole idea. It was a lot of, networking and just trying. And there was a lot of doors that were shut, places closed, and people saying, we tried that once and it was a little destructive, and not going to do that again. So thankfully there was a place that was called Fun Lovin' Productions. It's where Angels Forever Windows of Light is downtown, right across Paper Valley. And this gentleman there, so between
Nate, I think his name is.
What's that?
Nate. I think he's the owner. Nate.
Oh, okay. Nate. Yeah. So whoever it was previously, a place called Fun Lovin' Productions.
Oh, I got you.
And this gentleman who owned the place was just another guy that was like, you know what? I have space in the basement. If you guys want to try this out, and we'll take some of the money off the door or whatever. And we ended up playing there quite a bunch. That was kind of a hub of the Valley for a while, along with Blue Moon and Ryan's and all those places. So.
Are there spots like that now? I mean, I feel like there's in some sense a resurgence of venues in this area, but are there like small places? I mean, I know like we spoke with Lily Collins. She's 18 years old. Yeah. So she's young. She figured out a way to, and maybe social media helps them, but are there places for kids to really go play? Copper Rock, maybe?
Copper Rock. Yeah. I think to your point before, there's not as many as there were, and which is unfortunate because like Lily, who's a product of Appleton Rock School, I believe, she's fantastic. And my kids actually go there too, so I have nothing but great things to say about that entire program. Jason Lipsky and the whole like the curriculum, the instructors, it's phenomenal. If that was something that we had when we were kids, I can only imagine what would be there, you know. So like now just seeing the level of talent like Lily and all these kids who play at Live at Hydro Park in Kaukauna every week and have all these different slots where they have the opportunity to play as a band together. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully there's going to be more coming around. We're actually at the Crystal Ballroom. We're talking about possibly going down that avenue eventually as well. We're sort of just working our way in these layers of our business plan, but knowing that was something that, you know, I had as, you know, in my formative years, I would only love to be able to give back a little bit and have that be an opportunity for kids too, because we don't need them on their computers all the time and their smartphones and all of that stuff. It's like creation and art and community and, you know, having a safe space to do it. I think that's just, it would be amazing for this area. So,
you know, every time I think about the kids, I agree. I feel like sometimes you're always on your phone. You never do anything, but there are such super creative high school kids and younger. They blow me away, whether it's in theater, whether it's in music, sports, whatever. There's some really dedicated, hardworking, fantastic kids.
No question. And that's the thing. It's like all those other avenues have, I guess, maybe arguably more resources, you know, say it's sports or say it's what have you. But yeah, having a place where you can actually just perform, it would be awesome to have more of those spots where, you know, it's not necessarily just the Crystal Ballroom or it's just, you know, the Copper Rock Coffee Shop, but maybe it's like 3 or 4 other places where it can kind of spread and then foster that next generation of artists that are going to end up playing Mile of Music someday or something like that.
Right.
I mean, I feel like it's certainly trending that way. Maybe just that age group is maybe the last to come along on this ride of venues, because I mean, Gibson Music Hall and Poplar Hall and some of these a little bit larger venues are so nice. And the bars, the Appleton Beer Factory and, you know, McFleshman's, they all have really cool, intimate venues that just were never available in years past.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So to have those options for the youth, oh man, the sky's the limit. If we can pull it off.
You've played just about all of them. I mean, I mean, I'm not asking you to name your favorite one, but I mean, they're all, I'm sure, unique in their own way.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. I can't name a favorite because, well, first of all, I pretty much know all the owners. So that one. But I mean, in all honesty, though, every one of those venues has their own unique flavor to them. And, you know, I'm a big believer in the live setting, kind of like that energy feeding off an experience that's going to be unique in and of itself, no matter what. Even if I'm playing, say, the same set list, one venue one night, and the same set list at a different venue the next night, the energy is going to be completely different. And that doesn't mean, you know, bad or good or whatever. It means just the people who are there, or the sound, or if it's indoor or outdoor, or, you know, whatever. It's like a whole new just opportunity to see what, you know, kind of takes place, because it's not, you know, a recorded thing. It's a live, breathing, organic movement, you know? So
right.
I absolutely love all these places. I mean, Gibson, like you said, and McFleshman's is fantastic. We've had the chance to play inside and outside there.
Yeah.
You know, Stone Arch, obviously, again, inside and outside that venue.
Right.
Riverside. I mean, there's just, you know.
Yeah, Riverside's a nice venue too.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, that's actually where we're going to be playing for Mile Music this year.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
About that, yeah.
Check it out for sure.
Yeah, they always do a great job. So, we're spoiled now in this area. It's kind of crazy. There's a lot of opportunities, of, you know, chances to play and places to play, and it seems like it's really, you know, there's still room to grow, right? I mean, there's opportunities for, you know, other venues to open up, or maybe people to get outside their comfort zone and, you know, go out on a Tuesday night, because you have that chance here, where it used to be we could only play on a Friday or Saturday at Blue Moon or New Moon or whatever back.
Right.
So it's like there's music every day of the week in this town now. It's crazy.
Yeah, there is. That's so cool.
It is. It really is.
So one venue I'd like, you know, just to reminisce a little bit for you is the Maritime Bar.
Yeah.
That was a big part of of Sunday Flood and a lot of bands that came through this area.
Yeah. It was a big, I can't emphasize how special of a place that was. I mean, we've talked about Ryan's now, we've talked about Fun Lovin' as kind of like, those were like our home bases for a while. But once Maritime hit, and it was really coincided obviously with me turning 21, go to a bar, not a dry night at a bar. We met John Weiss, God rest his soul, just an amazing human. And he was just such an advocate of music, performing it, writing it, hosting it. He just loved to host people doing what they loved. He just absolutely, he craved it. It was awesome. So anytime, it wasn't just us, obviously, in our kind of group of bands that played there. There was a whole, like, just hodgepodge of various artists, open mic artists and house bands. And then there was the original music scene that we kind of brought into him a little bit and exposed him to that sort of stuff. It started with that. And that was where A-Town Unplugged was born also. So that's the cover band I've been doing for 20 years. It was the one that we just played the 5 shows with over the weekend. I met 2 guys by the name of Rod Zimmerman and Marty Paschke, and they played there every Tuesday night at the Maritime. And I was like, just again, completely blown away by local talent. Like, who are these guys and what are they doing in this town? They should be in Seattle or Nashville or LA or whatever. And, we got to talking, and then, they ended up finding out I was a musician. They let me and another one of my friends, Tony Wenzel, who ended up being in a different band with me over the years, couple actually, Like Fine Wine and Whole Nails. They would let us, take a little bit of, their time while they were taking breaks and have us come out and play a couple of songs. Nice. And next thing you know, Rodney gets a job where he has to kind of give up the Tuesday night situation. And Marty said, well, why don't you just go ahead and warm the chair for Rodney while he does this? Well, flash forward, being a real lifelong musician, Rodney didn't really take to the Tuesday work scene too long. So it became a 3-piece. He just came right back. We're like, all right, we have 3 of us. And then we had a bass player and a drummer, and then 20 years later, but here we are. But yeah, the Maritime, again, it was a fantastic spot. John unfortunately passed in 2013. But he let us host, especially Flood. We would bring in, a lot of the bands that we met through regional touring, Midwest touring, just a lot of networking, where if we would play in Minneapolis with a band, they would say, oh yeah, we'd love to come through sometime. We'd say, well, just a place. John is going to give you gas money. He's going to pay you well, give you a couple pizzas for, to fill your belly, and then let you go to your next town. And it was just one of those things where it just kept going and going and going until, unfortunately, when he passed, they had to move on from ownership and all that stuff. But just a fantastic guy. And actually, A-Town had the opportunity to play his daughter's wedding a couple weeks ago. So it's just nice. A whirlwind of emotions in the best possible way. It was amazing. And what a great spot that was. And the unfortunate thing on top of all of it was 2013. So it was kind of on that cusp of where he unfortunately got ill, and Mile of Music was just taking off. Sure. And there was talk of like maybe that being a sort of another hub venue, even though it's off the Mile, like just kind of having them be involved. It just, the timing didn't really work out in that light, but
that would have been cool for Mile. Get up to Wisconsin Avenue. It would have been kind of cool.
It would have been pretty neat. I don't know if it ever would have came to fruition, but I know that was talked about at one point. So it was really neat.
I mean, that's the other thing that, just what Mile has done for this area, and just the exposure to music and to, to you and hundreds of people like you that are just musicians and lifers. And it's
absolutely
so cool.
It's it really is unbelievable. Again, the timing of it from Maritime and like what our, I guess, ecosystem was here, at least for, my bands, and then, our kind of subset of friends. There's a lot of us that would go to that bar and support it. And it seemed when that went away, it was like there was not too many options to play because Mile was just getting going. But talk about a transition from that chapter to this chapter.
Right.
It's pretty incredible. And the growth, the level of, just understanding of what live music can be. Like it's just exposed this area to, original music.
Right.
And, that's one thing that even when I started playing with Rod and Marty in A-Town, I was a lifer in the sense of I never really got into the cover band thing.
Mm-hmm.
But here I am 20 years later and I still do it. I do it all the time. I guess we take an approach in that band though, is almost like an original band though. We never try to emulate cookie cutter cover music. We kind of put an original spin to it. So it kind of crosses over into that exposure of what original music has done to this area as well, where people don't need to know every song. They can come in and say, you know what? Wow, all right, this isn't on WAPL today or whatever, insert radio station, WOGB, what have you. They just can come in and go, wow, okay, this drummer is really good.
Right.
Oh my gosh, the melody is neat. And I have no idea what this is. And it just seems like this, the Fox Valley and even like us, arguably like Northeast Wisconsin was just not really exposed to original music at that level. And then all of a sudden, 10 years, 11 years in a mile, it seems like the whole area has really, just been galvanized by it. It's awesome.
It really is. I'm so glad we're part of it.
Yep.
I remember back, this is probably I'm older than you, but going to college and I was in that grunge time period, and you come back here, it was just all cover bands. And you didn't have that original music scene. I think Mongo's had some good original music at the time.
Absolutely.
But we didn't have it. People are kind of, they didn't know what to think of original music. They wanted to go see the cover band. They wanted to hear songs that they knew.
Right.
But we've definitely changed that entire area here. And it's people like you and the bands that you've brought through here and the bands that you're part of. Like A-Town, I've seen you guys play at Ledgestone at the Vineyard.
Yeah, sure.
And it is. You guys are going up there having a good time, and it does seem like it's original, even though you're playing covers.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was something that I think it's not even an intentional thing where we go about it and say, you know what, we're going to go for this vibe. We just love playing, music together, number one. We love picking songs that mean something to us. And then we like to play them in our own way versus just making sure getting the exact chord structure from the internet or listening to the record and trying to emulate it note for note. We're like, you know what, let's see what happens tonight. And that's why every show is different. The song is never played the same ever. And we've played now, for 20 years of this band. It's just, it just has that sort of original vibe, the way the five of us kind of cohesive unit is and how it exists, and just takes a life of its own. So it's fun.
When great musicians get together and do covers, it's every bit as great as original music. It's so good, to Tosh's point. Couldn't agree more. How do you pick a set list for A-Town? You have five of you on there. I'm sure you have all different musical tastes. How do you come about a set list?
We don't.
Yeah, awesome.
We have never written a set list, which is, again, hilarious and, also awesome, I would have to say.
Yeah, I agree.
We've never had a one-band practice.
Yeah.
In 20 years. We've never sat down like how my other bands would be, where we have a night where we have a couple hours and we go into a practice space and we write music together and rehearse. A-Town just plays.
Yeah.
We just get booked shows and one of us will learn a song or two of us will, and we'll just say, well, we're doing this one tonight. And, sometimes we'll give 24 hours notice and say, maybe give this one a listen. Otherwise we go to the gig and we say, well, this is in the key of A. Good luck. And usually after one performance of it or two, sometimes three or four, it just turns into, by the time we have a gig, the next week, it's in the set.
Sure.
And we just rotate. We never, again, back to your question about a set list, we literally just rotate each song.
Yeah.
We'll say, who's up next? What's your pick? And we have, between the five of us, we know, literally hundreds of, if not thousands of songs just from over the years. So that's
what blows me away is just that, I mean, I can't comprehend how you can keep that in your head and just understand that and know that and just be able to play that. And every musician that does that, I don't understand.
If I could explain it, I would. It's one of those things. It's kind of like it just happened. And I guess it does go back to the Maritime though, again, because that was a weekly showcase we did for a while. Was Tuesday nights of the Maritime. Prior to that, Marty had been playing for about 5 years before that as well, and they rotated like Cold Shot and some other places as well.
Oh yeah.
But when I started joining or playing with them, we did the Maritime, and we were the house band, quote unquote, for a while, and then we were Tom's Garage, if you remember.
I remember that place.
The three of us, and then eventually the five of us were, quote unquote, the house band for a while. So I guess we kind of learned how to, listen and feed off of each other, and we're taking liberties with all these songs. We just kind of grew, I guess, very an open mind, if you will, versus like, okay, I know that there's going to be a transition here because I listened to it on the record. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen with us. And it's not like we're, I guess it's more prominent like things like jazz or something where there's improvisation or even like jam bands and stuff.
Yeah.
But there is, I guess, an element to that.
Oh, very much so, it sounds like.
Yeah. So
jam bands are my favorite. So you're speaking my language.
Right on. Yeah. See, it's like the unspoken word, and they just go and jam for a while. And that's right. Absolutely what we do sometimes.
That live thing that you talk about, that feeling that you feel, as an audience or a participant in that on the other side of the stage, we feel that in the audience too, when you can get lost in whatever, a jam, a song, a lyric, whatever. And it's just, you can't describe it, but it's cool to hear a musician say that they feel that too. It's like that connection.
It is. And that's what it's all about. I mean, I love repetition and things that I'm comfortable with, but at the same time, I really enjoy not being comfortable and being outside of my comfort zone a little bit. And if that means it's just a new venue, or if it's just a new, it's a different crowd, it goes back to my point again about every night could be totally different, even if you're playing the same spot. Like that's how the Maritime was. It's like not every Tuesday was the same. It was just, obviously it depends if there's, 50 people there or 500 people, but or 5.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. A couple of weeks ago, I went to see Amelia Ford at Misfits, and there was maybe 20 people there. Mm-hmm. But she's awesome. Beautiful, great 2 sets. But there was nobody there, and I just was thinking, like, how is that when you're playing to an empty room, basically? I mean, what is that? How do you get through that?
Yeah, it depends if you're a solo musician doing a solo set, which
it's got to be even worse.
It's tough because it's just you.
Yeah,
and it's the bartender, or in previous years it was the barista, making a cappuccino, the steamer's going, and you're just trying to. Keep the train on the tracks. It's just you just got to climb into what, especially if you're playing your own music. That's what I really love doing. I mean, I love A-Town too, but at the end of the day, I just love playing what I create.
Right.
And when you're in that spot where it's a little challenging, you wish that there was 50 people there and there's just 2. You just got to climb into those songs and see what it is. Use it as an opportunity to maybe, hone in a line that you had trouble with as you were writing it.
Sure.
Chord or, a lick or whatever the case is. It's just, it's a learning opportunity. Mm-hmm. And, it doesn't mean that it can't bum you out, because sometimes, you can't help but be like, oh man, really? There's 2 people in there? I posted it on Facebook, and, I thought the word was going to spread, but that's the name of the game. I mean, especially in summertime in Wisconsin, where everybody wants to be camping or, at a cottage or at a lake or, whatever. It's tough to get. And then now that I guess would be one, say, maybe not a problem that's arisen, because I don't use that term, but it's just when there's so many different options and there's music every night of the week, you're going to have that natural competition, unfortunately, where it's like everybody can't, all of us musician or music fans can't all be at the same spot at one time. So if there's a killer show at Appleton Beer Factory and there's a killer show at Gibson, unless you can clone yourself,
try and
have less people, unfortunately. Right. So it's like, you just got to battle through it. And if you're in a band and it's a slow night, then it's like, you know what, you try something new in the set list. Be like, well, nobody's here. Let's use this as a practice.
Yeah.
let's try a tune. Rehearsal. Okay, let's try this song. The last time we played it, it was we should have done this with the chorus or the bridge or whatever. And then hopefully for then that next show where it's packed, you've paid off. It's paid off, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great way to look at it for sure. Yeah. Great practice.
Yep.
So as you guys, going back a little bit to Sunday Flood, as you guys are coming through, you're going to some pretty cool cities, and you're hitting that Minneapolis scene. Was that just a crazy time? I mean, the bands there were amazing.
Well, yeah. I mean, Minneapolis and St. Paul are two incredible towns. Like the level of talent is just, and has been for years and years. I mean, going back to the Replacements and Husker Du and Soul Asylum and, whatever. Yeah. I mean, we started Flood, actually, that was kind of a critical component of the story I should have probably mentioned. But when we started Sunday Flood, our bass player actually just started college in St. Paul. So we actually called him on Thanksgiving night. 3 of us were practicing, and we called him up and said, hey, you got to come back on your breaks because you're going to be in this band. Because it was the lightning in the bottle thing. And we played it over a landline phone. We remember those.
Yeah.
We played him these songs, and he's like, yes, I'll be back for Christmas break. And that's just how it was. We wrote songs. So we were a band with him in Minneapolis, St. Paul area he was in our band for 5 years. And we drove, he would meet us at gigs in town. We would drive to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Mankato, Northfield, Duluth, wherever we could play. Madison, we'd just meet. We'd be like, yep, I'll see you there. We'll play the gig. And we got to meet just all these phenomenal players and just all different types of genres of music. It wasn't just our indie rock, what Sunday Flood was, or people call it, say, emo, or we never really could label it ourselves. But there was there was the punk rock scene, and there was the jam scene, all these different players and different walks of life, and just amazing venues in those towns. So we've always, Flood sort of had that. It was never. We tried to relocate there a couple of times because having our bass player there was a thing. And then Mike moved there, and then our drummer moved there. I moved there briefly. I moved right back. Just couldn't make it work because of all those life things happening. But so glad that I still keep in contact with a number of those cats up there. And hopefully we'll be able to get them to come back through with their various bands, because there's still a bunch of people that I know that play and play well and busy and put records out and do the thing. So
that's awesome.
A little harder to do with families, but they still make it happen. So really cool town.
Cool.
So the one thing we haven't really touched on is, all through this, you truly are a songwriter, a creator, like you said. So I'm always curious. We asked Dave Willems this question, and just kind of people that create. How do you get the idea from your head out to its final product, to fruition? Yeah, I know there's a lot of steps in there, but are you walking around with a pad of paper and an idea pops in your head and you're writing it down, or you use the Notes app, or what?
Notes app now, as technology has progressed over the years, it used to be back of matchbooks, and where you could think of an idea, or like Walkmans. I used to have little desktop cassette recorders that I would just hum into if I had an idea. Especially going back to those early days of Flood. And as that, band progressed, and then I was always sort of writing songs on my own. And one of the offshoots of Sunday Flood was called Halloran. That was just a 2-piece. It was Mike and I that was really based on my acoustic songs. Mm-hmm. So then flash forward up until a couple of years ago that you referenced the Shed Songs album.
Right.
The songs, some of those are going back. At least they took roots 10, 15 years ago. Other of them were, weeks old when I recorded them, but that process has always been not getting in the way of my own head. I guess that's the easiest way to describe creating. Right. You have an idea, you think it sounds good, you have maybe a pattern. It could be like humming a line, like a melody, or sitting down with a guitar and strumming a chord and then putting a second chord together and going, wait a minute, I think I can hum to this, or I can sing, I can, and then it's, once you can get a structure of a song, that's in and of itself a win in my book.
Right.
It's like, okay, I had words somewhere. Where did I put those things? Are they in my Notes app, or are they written down in some notebook? And then are those words, do they fit? Can I sing this right? And then you're moving phrases around and words, and I don't like how I pronounce that when I sing it. And it's just like this never ending cycle until you go, you know what? It's good. It's gotta be. And typically for me, my process has been if I'm confident enough to play it in a live setting, it seems to be like done.
Okay.
It's very rare that I feel like after I play it out that it changes. It might change maybe a lyric here or there or something like that. But I think if I get to the point where I'm ready to present it to, I guess, the world or like my family, get their stamp of approval, I'm like, all right, I think this is it. And then sometimes you fall out of love with the songs. It's like, that one doesn't touch me as much as I used to. So I'm going to play these other batches.
Yeah.
But yeah, the creative process it can be daunting at times. And then other times it just comes to you. There's been a couple of instances where I had no idea where a song came from. And it just like start to finish happened in like an hour.
Yeah. Wow. The lyrics and all, do phrases just kind of come to you? Do they come? Do you have a certain, like, do you put yourself in a headspace to create, or are you just always just bleeding this stuff out of you and it just comes to you at weird times?
Yeah, it's more the latter. It just happens. It's very rare that I know I have some musician friends that like they sit down and they write like it's like they're working. Like I'm going to sit down and create tonight.
Right.
And I've tried that and it just doesn't work for me. I think it works for some people. Some people can write lyrics of songs and have them be their song lyrics, and then they write a piece of music, and then they're able to just put that together. I just have to have the feeling come to me. Like if I hear a line, it could be a conversation like I'm having with you guys, and you say something that sticks to me. It could be a phrase or a couple of words, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm like, there's a song there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it just sort of happens. And then there's other times where, you get inspired by taking a walk, looking at nature, thinking of friends. And then there's always the whole love angle,
right.
As long as rock and roll has been a thing, I think there's been, a woman behind it, or country music.
Oh, yeah.
So there's typically a topic in that, like be it a love, a breakup, a whatever. So yeah. And then, I'm very intrigued by things like, especially with the Shed Songs album, like outer space and supernatural and the afterlife and things like that. There's a lot of themes in there of just, wrapping my brain around, what humans don't know. And
right.
Yeah.
So, the unknown is kind of cool, and you can put your own spin on that. That's another thing I like about creating. It doesn't have to be nonfiction. It doesn't have to be fiction. It could be whatever you want, because you're the one creating it. So I take that opportunity every time I try to come up with an idea. Like, you know what? I'm gonna see what happens here.
Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners, help us grow by subscribing wherever you get your pods, or sharing the Newsa-Cast. Follow us on Facebook, X, TikTok, or Instagram. Northeastern Wisconsin Sports Advancement is a 501c3 organization. Our mission is to raise money, provide support, and bring greater awareness for youth sports organizations in Northeast Wisconsin. We do this primarily through the Red Smith Sports Award Banquet and the Newsa-Cast. Each year, we give back to the community through 3 initiatives: the Every Kid Plays Grant, the Gives Back Initiative, and scholarships to student athletes. Those songs that you've created now and have been playing live for years, is a song ever really finished, or is it just kind of always, maybe the lyrics might stay the same, but it's just like the way you play it, maybe the way you sing it, does it kind of evolve through the years?
I think it evolves through the years. Absolutely. Yeah. Especially the longer the song, the more often you've played it. You have to think back to like, how many times did Led Zeppelin play Stairway to Heaven? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they hated it at one point because they had to play it every night, but I'm sure that they were still like inspired by when it kicks in at the end. Like, all right. Even on the off night. Right. So it's one of those things where, if you take a different approach and, be it A-Town with the songs that we didn't write and we're just kind of letting things happen, or if it's a song that I wrote, 20 years ago, like some of the Sunday Flood songs that I play in the solo setting now or with my backing band, the Sheesh, we will just see what happens. And we never try to have it be exactly the same each time. It just, like it goes back to my comments. It's like that organic thing. Your influences are going to change how, at least for me, I typically have my eyes closed when I play. And sometimes when I'm focused, I kind of get lost in the song, and the next thing you know, I'm singing a third above what I usually do in a different note, just like it just happens because of the feeling, the energy. So that's always
a reflex.
Absolutely. Yep.
I guess let's get into what you just stated. You got this new backing band. You're playing Mile of Music Thursday at the Riverside.
Yep.
So what's your new sound? I mean, your music from Sunday Flood to Leading the Blind to A-Town to the Shed Sessions. Songs. What's new? What's the new stuff going to be like?
Well, it's the easiest way to say it is it's a kind of an evolution of A-Town, because my backing band is the A-Town guys.
Yep.
So the only difference is we are playing my songs versus everybody else's, right?
Perfect.
So I guess the easiest way to explain that is all of the influences of all those hundreds of artists that we play are kind of coming through, at least in the backing band.
Okay.
They're coming through that, if that makes sense. So it's like my songs now, when I give them to the guys, and I've done that with Shed songs, and I didn't say, here's the chart. I want you to play A and G and do this, and this beat has to be exactly here. I said, here's the album, listen to it, and then let's play it. And they just brought their influences, and these guys who I play with, like I said, Rodney and Marty, and then Patrick Whitehaven and Jeremy Reckner, and they're all seasoned players who have, years and years and years of experience, and then years and years and hundreds of different influences. So you put those all in a blender with my songs that have been influenced by punk rock and emo, and then singer-songwriters like Neil Young and James Taylor and Tom Petty and Duncan Sheik, and just like a gamut of people, Peter Gabriel, to then the grunge era, and then like the early 90s, like Blind Melon, and I love Radiohead, I love Sunny Day Real Estate and Hum, and all these different elements. I think that I guess that's the easiest way to describe it is it's just a bunch of stuff thrown together, and it's got my voice over it, which I guess comes through, and then the melodies that I've been known to write are sort of, I've never really been looking to write a pop song, I guess. Not been my thing. I've always just sort of seen where the melodies go, and if they are aesthetically pleasing to my ear, I think that I'm pretty happy about it. I just never have tried to write hooks, and maybe I should. I don't know.
It's one of the things I love about you, though, is that you are that way. That
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm for real. I mean, Shed Songs comes out. That's really the first time you kind of express you play your stuff live for sure, but never presented it publicly for everybody to consume.
Right.
So I love that about you. I mean, you're just being real. You're being who you are.
That's it. That's the idea. I mean, I think that, there's arguably, say, some hooks in, I guess each of my songs to a point, but I've never been like somebody that wants to just write a hook to have it be a hook and let that dictate the song. I've always just had the songs evolve into what they end up being. But that being said, one of the new songs that I gave to the guys, and we kind of turned it into this thing. We played it at Gibson a couple months ago for the first time. And I was like, wow, I think there's some hooks in there. So, I don't know. I guess like that's arguably a little bit more, there's some blues influence into it. There's definitely some Blind Melon, almost jam rock vibes to it, but then crossed with my my unique viewpoint on melodies and dissonance and like rhythms. It just kind of ends up being what it is. So it's been fun. It's been really neat to see how things have evolved with, again, these guys who I've been playing with for 20 years, and how they just took the songs and went, this is what I hear underneath what you do. So that's been a really cool thing just to see. Awesome. Yeah, it's really neat.
It's interesting. You mentioned Tom Petty before. I kind of rediscovered him over the last few months. He is so good. I forgot about him. I haven't listened to him in a while.
You gotta. It's talk about just a no nonsense, just, I mean, and that's the thing, you know, talk about hooks. I mean, that guy has hooks. Every one of his songs is a hit. I mean,
Yeah.
and his just perspective on just his, you know, being authentic and, you know, his whole approach. What a guy. And then again, what a band.
Yeah.
With all of his stuff. I mean, his solo work, and then with the Heartbreakers and his band Mudcrutch, and like just everything that he touched, they've all got these unique, you know, chapters. And I just, I love playing Tom Petty songs with A-Town. We do a number of them.
Nice.
And then we do a couple of Mudcrutch songs too. And it's just hilarious because it's like, wow, how many Tom Petty songs do we know? How many are we going to keep learning? Well, they're all good. So as many as we want.
Right.
You know, we're just going to keep playing Tom Petty songs. Yeah, he was just amazing.
He was so good at covers as well. A couple of the live shows, he's covered the Grateful Dead just beautifully a couple of times. Love
Incredible. Just what a talent, what a gift. I mean, that catalog that he blessed us with, we're lucky, and our generations will be lucky to listen to that. I mean, one of the most rewarding things as a father was when my son was like, I love Tom Petty. I'm like, yeah man. All right. It's so cool. It's great. Yep.
I want to even move forward a little bit now and talk about Crystal Ballroom.
Yeah.
I mean, this is another adventure for you.
Yes.
So how did that all come to be, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah. So the Crystal Ballroom, my involvement, how did it come about? So about a year and a half ago, roughly, now that we're in July, my wife, who her name is Dana, she's been my wife now almost 16 years.
Nice.
And so she I definitely have to bring her up in many capacities, because she has obviously the patience of a saint, and she just supports me in all my musical endeavors, and now, of course, being business partners. But she has been in the dance community for 25 years. So kind of coinciding with my music, she's been in the arts in her own way.
Wow.
And she was in a number of different programs in the area, you know, from YMCAs to recreational programs, et cetera, just as an instructor. And about 6-7 years ago, she got the itch to open up her own studio. So we found a little spot in Sherwood, and that was right actually down the road from our house. So we saw a for rent side, and we're like, you know what, let's go for it. It's time. Let's check it out. And, you know, business, you know, kept, I guess, going well, and classes were at capacity, and it was kind of a smaller space. So we were sort of at a crossroads, and she's like, you know, I think I love this space, but we have to look for something bigger. Well, we see that the Crystal Ballroom had ceased operating. And we'd, of course, driven by it, you know, a number of times, living out here where we do. And, you know, a lot of people that we know have either gotten married there, or, you know, went to a school function, or, you know, whatever. It's just been an institution for a long, long time. So we met the previous owners, fantastic people. And we got to talking, and Dana said, you know what, I think I got an idea. I think we can put the dance studio in the lower level, where the receptions typically, like dinners, were held. Okay. And then we could have, you know, ballroom dancing and wedding upstairs, which is the background that you see here with the hardwood floor. So it was a two-pronged, I guess, business model, essentially, of having Revel Dance Academy, which is the name of her dance studio, and then the Crystal Ballroom function. So yeah, the Crystal ceased operations. They had their final dance in December of 22, and we took over. We got the keys May 1st of 23. So immediately we had our first ballroom dance event there that Friday. We just dove right into it. We, you know, Dana's dance background was not really in ballroom. It was really more in other, you know, youth programs like tap and ballet and hip hop and lyrical and contemporary and things of that nature. She had limited ballroom experience, but we're like, you know, we got a lot of great tips from the previous owners. They're fantastic people. They're the ones who took it over in 1997 and remodeled it to pretty much how it looks today. And then we've since, you know, taken over and added our own flavor to it as well now. But yeah, it's a really neat spot. It was built in 1928.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, talk about history, you know, like it's 95 years old, and it's been, you know, a ballroom for the first 30 years. It was a tavern from the 50s, 60s, 70s, even the parts of the 80s. And then it was storage for a while. And then Paul and Lisa Lauer took it over in 97, like I said, and remodeled it and started having weddings there. And I mean, they had hundreds of weddings and banquets and gatherings. And throughout that time, they would have these social ballroom dances that, you know, sometimes were weekly, sometimes they were random nights of the week. They would have instruction and things of that nature where you could take lessons. And we wanted to keep that going again as a homage to the history. And it's been really neat. So now we've learned, you know, trial by fire. I've got 2 left feet for even being a musician. I figured out a way to move around the floor a little bit, thanks to a couple of really nice, you know, regulars, and it's been neat. So we've incorporated that. We do weekly ballroom dances.
Okay.
We do line dancing bi-monthly. We do first Friday of each month, and then the third Saturday of each month. And then we also do live music. Now we're you know, dipping our toes in the water. We had actually, you mentioned Dave Willems before on Mile. We had a thing called Mile Down the Road, which is Mile Music Presents. It was kind of an experiment to see, you know, if they could bring the Mile to, you know, somewhere else off of College Avenue, and it was great. 2 Mile acts played, and it was the sound was incredible, and it was neat to have that taste of the Mile.
Was it successful? Were you happy with it? Were enough people there to do it again?
I think all parties were very happy. Yeah. So there's talk of doing it again, and we can't wait. I mean, it was obviously now the festival's coming up in a couple of weeks. So, you know, it's not going to be anytime soon. It'll probably maybe, you know, say maybe fall or winter or even next spring. We'll see what, you know, Dave and team wants to do. But that actually coincided. Kim Willems got married in May. So
right.
Then Mile Down the Road was a month later. So it was kind of funny. They came back like, wow, it's great to be back here already. All right.
You know, I was just looking at your screensaver, which is the Crystal Ballroom. I know this is an audio, obviously, podcast, but I can see. You mentioned acoustics are really good in there. Was that built into that room? I mean, is that in 1928? Was that sort of how they did things?
Well, the framework of itself, as it's laid out, yes, in 28, it was a ballroom, and there's a stage in there that's original. So then some of the modifications, as you can see, the kind of curved ceilings, and, you know, listeners, you'll have to come out and check it out sometime.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Teaser. You know, high vaulted ceilings, and, you know, a performance stage in the, you know, that's the main centerpiece of the room. You know, sound projects very well. We had a salsa band called Salsa Manzana, phenomenal players from the Valley. They played in October, and we had a, you know, Latin music dance event. So we had, you know, 100 dancers just, you know, dancing to this incredible music, and to talk about a 12-piece, you know, Latin band with you know, all these elements of salsa and cumbia and merengue and things like coming through, all these different instruments, percussion. I mean, it was, you know, horns. It was really, really neat. So to have that dynamic, and then A-Town Unplugged has played there a couple of times. So we've done a couple of dance events where that was coinciding with some local dance studios doing like an instruction to teach dancers how to get comfortable to dance at a live music setting versus just hearing a DJ play music.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So then what better way to do that than have a live band like an A-Town band who has different rhythms and different genres, and all of a sudden they can go, you know what, that I could waltz to this, or I could East Coast swing to this. And
that's cool.
So that went really well. And then, obviously the Mile show, that was a whole different sonic experience with 2, you know, more acoustic based singer-songwriter, you know, male-female dynamic. I mean, very intimate setting, listening room. You could hear a pin drop, and then just to hear, you know, 2 voices in each respective group. I mean, it was really, it was goosebumps and all the feels. It was awesome. Cool. It was really, really neat. Yeah, we got a lot of positive feedback from people, and we're looking forward to doing it again. So
good. You had mentioned like the line dancing on Friday and things like that. Are those open to the public? I mean, is that something that people just pop on in basically? Or
Yeah. So what we do is, you know, for the social ballroom dances, we do also have some lessons with those as well. So if somebody's new to the ballroom dance community,
like this guy,
come on out. I mean, give it a shot. There's a lot.
Weirdly, I have I feel like I want to try it.
You should. You absolutely should. And I mean, so it goes to that point. There's lessons, or even if you don't take lessons, there's people who are going to show you some moves, some basics, and like how to do a box step in a waltz or something like that. So then to your question about line dancing, same thing, open to the public, and we typically have some instruction. So they have call sheets, I think is what the direct maybe industry term is. I'm not exactly sure. My wife is the dancer. I'm not, but like they have, you know, where you get together and these people call out the steps to you and they show you the technique, you know, where to kick your foot up, where to slap the leather or whatever other thing that they say, where to do-si-do, where to turn, whatever. But it's actually very cool how it progresses, and it's not intimidating at all. I mean, well, I don't want to speak for people because it is intimidating to see something that you don't know. I understand that feeling, but I guess where I'm going with it is it's a very welcoming community, both the ballroom and the line dancing. It's like people just know that you're doing something that they love, so they're going to try to make you comfortable and feel like a part of it. And that's been the coolest thing outside of having weddings, which obviously going back at Kim and Andy's wedding was amazing. And you get all the feels from that. But these dance events too, like everything that we've done at the Crystal so far has been, again, it's similar to the music. And that's probably why I'm doing it all, is because there's a lot of reward to, you know, people getting something out of something they'd never done before. You know, so it's really, really neat to see that. And it's been a lot of fun, and we're just getting going. You know, we're a year and 2 months in, and to see people learn how to dance and be passionate about it is really, really neat. And then obviously when you're celebrating a wedding and like the most joyous occasion of people's lives, and you have family who are gathering, and it's one common goal of just celebrating. I mean, it's just, And then obviously downstairs with Dana teaching the future of, you know, dance performance, and these kids, you know, not all of them are going to go off to Juilliard, right? But they're learning how to, you know, grow and be confident and learn different steps. And next thing you know, like they have this, you just watch them in these recitals and performances, and it's just unbelievable. It's just really, really neat. So all in all, it's a really cool building, and we're very happy with it. We're passionate about it, and we want to, you know, continue to have, you know, evolution and think of ways that we can make the space better. And maybe that's going to be the all ages shows, back to our original. That could be a thing. It could be, you know, more diverse live music. You know, we're going to try in polka. We're trying polka the first weekend of August, because it's not all music. You know what I mean? It's totally different genre. So,
I mean, there's not many polka halls anymore, right? The only one I can ever remember playing polkas, and I can't remember, up on Black Creek, with the big, you know,
maybe Romies.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why we walked in this building, and the first thing I thought of, like, they were talking about the history of the weddings and ballroom and all the ballroom dances, and I was like, you can't tell me that there was not a bunch of polka bands playing here, because it's got a stage vibe to it. So, you know, that's just that's another example of what we're talking about doing. And, you know, there'll be different things like we had graduation parties there, and, you know, we'll do we've done fundraisers, we've done a variety of just different things. You know, it's a space, and it's a large room, and we want to see what else we can do with it. So
do you have a kitchen, or is it catered, or how do you handle the food?
We actually have a catered. Yep. There's no kitchen. They did have a kitchen at one point in that late 90s realm, but it got to be too much for them, from what I understand.
I believe that.
So when we took it over, that was the first question. It's like, okay, where's the kitchen? Because how's that going to work? Are we going to have to do food, hire a chef? And my previous life, I was involved in restaurants, and I know how much, you know, really work that is. So I was thinking, okay, how are we going to pull this off? But that obviously is not something that we have to worry about, because there's no kitchen in there, at least for now. Like, maybe we'll invest in that in the future, but that's not in our immediate plan. So right now it's working with just great caterers that we know. And
I mean, you have spare time to do that, clearly.
Right. I could just dive back into creating menus and things like that. But
so the other thing I love about, I mean, everything you've just talked about, but again, the whole while now, you have kids, right? I mean, they're experiencing all this as well, and I'm assuming they're just this is their life, right?
Absolutely.
Do they play? I'm assuming they play music, right?
Yeah, they do. And it was they're 8 and 10. My oldest, my daughter is again, both of them are students at Appleton Rock School, and you know, believe it or not by my doing. I didn't encourage them, at least. You know, they were more curious because they see their dad playing all the time, and hear me practicing and things of that nature. And, you know, we bond over that too now. It's unbelievable as a parent to see them be curious and, explore writing their own material already. I mean, obviously my daughter is like most, youth girls of that age are just infatuated with Taylor Swift, but also like, taking it like on her own and going, I could write about this. And it's unbelievable. Cool. Your sketch pads around and she performs. My son plays drums and again, loves Tom Petty and loves Leonard Skinner. And I mean, yeah, it's just interesting to see that dynamic. And then they're also dancers as well. So they dance at Rep. So they are both well-rounded, artists in their own right. And then they, of course, by design and no fault of their own, they're also our best employees at the park.
Sure. Built in.
They help us clean. They help us paint. They help us at the door. They help us, stock and get ice. And, they're obviously just have their charm of being just adorable children who are, little hosts and hostesses of the place. And, a lot of the regulars know them by name, and they're sad when they're not there, when they're at grandma and grandpa's and not at the ballroom working. Yeah, they're fantastic kids. And, we'll see if they end up taking it over someday. That's great.
Yeah. Cool. They've got that showman in them, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. They're definitely, they're little hands at times, definitely. But they bring their own perspective too. They have a lot of fresh ideas for the place. Like, Dad, we should try this. I mean, why don't we ever do this? Let's move this over here. Let's decorate this differently. Let's put the lights up differently. And it's like, you know what? You're right. So, I mean, the future is bright, as they say.
So how soon before you guys are a trio, the three of you?
Well, funny you should say that. So every year, my son and daughter and I, we go down to Street Music Week on College Avenue for Hyde Music's America fundraiser. And we've done that now, I want to say 4 years, maybe 5. And we call ourselves Beauty and the Beasts.
Yeah, nice.
And we play, obviously I let them run the show because it's their band. Yeah. And, I'm going to play with them as long as they, let me until they kick Dad out because he's not there. But they play their songs that they've learned at their school. And they play, now obviously Taylor Swift songs and Tom Petty songs and things of that nature. But, their cool music class songs are my favorite because I've grown up, just hearing them sing in the school setting. And then when they want to play them for people, and then what better way of raising money? I mean, busking for charity is pretty incredible on College Avenue. So it's something that we do every year. We just did it obviously in June, and it was awesome as always. So, and they got to be, pictures on the poster one year, and so they're very proud of that. Like it was pretty cool, pretty neat kids
on top of the world.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I have one question for you yet, and I kind of asked this to a lot of our guests. Is who are some influences or some people that you think back all the way even to when you're a kid that shaped you to who you are now?
Oh wow. Just in general as a musician or
in general, it can be, whatever.
Oh man. Well, that's a great question. So I would have to say, I mean, just at least getting me in the musical path, like the path, there's a wide variety of people. So there was, again, my cousin's swing band. Yeah. There was the Appleton Boy Choir staff, one of which Jim Hikes ended up being my choral director.
Yep.
So he was absolutely fantastic, and just the way that he instilled, music into us, and got us on that passion of whatever. Just unifying voices was something that I take with me. It sticks with me to this day. And then there's the whole rock and roll thing. I mean, local artists, when I was 12 and my brother was taken to, see his high school classmates who were playing, there was a band called Vesicular Basalt from the Appleton area, Nina. You can look them up. They're not really, I guess the internet presence really was just off the timing didn't really quite line up, but those guys were playing. They were, again, one of these local bands that were playing where bands like, say, Green Day was coming through before they were signed on a major label. They were just on a tour going around the country with kids in a van, and they would come through and play Nina, and Vesicular Basalt would play with them. They were a band that was very instrumental, and other local bands like that, Vacuum Scam and Allergon, all these other, just guys around here and gals for that matter, were just kind of throwing caution to the wind and learning how to be musicians. And doing it in town, and it wasn't on MTV. It was like this thing, and that was like what got me to get the itch. So I guess those definitely shaped, outside of my parents and friends and collaborators over the years. I've been in, now a dozen bands, and so you do the math with all the different players that I've played with and collaborated with. It's all shaped me. And obviously, again, my wife has been instrumental in all this too, because it's her feedback sometimes of, wait, maybe say no to that show, which I have a hard time doing, or maybe say yes to this one, or, actually one time, one of the Shed songs I was working on, I don't play piano, at least not well. And I was monkeying around with a riff, and she came downstairs and said, whatever that is, keep doing it. And that ended up being the first song on the record.
Yeah.
I got to give her a lot of credit for all this stuff too, but yeah.
So not playing piano, and it becomes the first song.
You're right. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen for the next album. Maybe it'll be all piano. I don't know, because I got the itch now. But
so when that happens to you, are you just doing the 10,000 hour thing? You're just playing piano all the time just to understand it, consume it, or how do you learn an instrument?
Well, I mean, it's just repetition, more at bats, right? I mean, you'll hit the ball at some point, and it's just one of those things where I'm familiar enough just at the highest level, being, really a choral musician in my youth, and always having a piano because that's your main accompanying situation for a choir.
Right.
Having that, being exposed to it and hearing how, the notes resonate. And I guess that's where it kind of translates into how my brain works and how my ear reacts to melody. So, through, my brief stint in college, I wanted to be in music education, and I had one of the requirements was learning how to play piano. And again, I was like, man, I can't get this thing, but it was fun. And I mean, I learned more theory, and I learned more, again, like the nuances of where the keys are, what note is what. But then, of course, through COVID, when we all had time to do things that we maybe didn't have time for before, I was like, well, I might as well give piano a shot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There you go.
And I ended up doing one of the songs that's on Shed Songs too is called The Ballad of Isabel and Marian. And that's on guitar on the album. But I forced myself to figure out the notes on the piano just as like an exercise to give me something to do during COVID.
Right.
And next thing you know, I was able to do it. So when, I guess it was a couple of years later, as I was monkeying around with just some other notes on the piano, that's where I came up with the Phosphines riff that my wife had pointed out to me and said, whatever that is, do that.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, thank you. Because I need help. Like, it's not like, I guess, a guitar where I think I'm on the right track usually. Piano is like, man, I don't know if this sounds good or not. I think it sort of does. And my fingers sort of do these things. It's making noise. I don't know. I guess I'm going to go with it. So that's what happened. But,
Cool.
As awful as COVID was, and I wouldn't wish it again on anybody, the musicians killed it during that time. I mean, the stuff that was produced coming out of that is just life-changing, musically changing.
I think that everybody obviously reacted to it differently, but the creative community, I think, some of my friends I know, like, didn't want to pick up their guitars or their instruments. They wanted to just let it sit. And then others were like, no, I got to do this all the time. And then they were doing Facebook Lives, and I did it myself. And that was like one of those things where it was really, really neat to just, like, it would be obviously like, my fellow collaborators and peers, I guess, in the Valley who are doing Facebook Lives and things. But then all of a sudden, like Glenn Phillips from Toad the Wet Sprocket is doing it, and it's for free, or he's collecting money for whatever, charity. So you get to put the reset button on, I guess, and just had everybody try something different. And it was, so I guess, through that chaos, there was some beauty to it.
I still remember Chuck Regan from Hot House
Water Music. And
he was sitting around a fire, playing his guitar. It was fantastic. It was
absolutely.
Just absolutely awesome.
Mm-hmm. So many instances of that, and just being exposed to hearing songs that those songwriters were writing in a totally different capacity. And it was just a neat way to, everybody was just sort of on the level together. Like, well, all right, I'm going to sign on and watch this. And then I'm going to request this song. And then like they would play it. I don't know. It's just that was an interesting time for sure.
Has that continued as a medium for you guys to get your music out that way? I mean, is that Do you still take advantage of that, or people just not do that? I mean, I feel like I watch so much YouTube music.
Yeah, it seems like YouTube is more of a thing. I mean, I think that there's still people do Facebook Lives, and we do that once in a while in the band setting too. We'll do it. I guess it just maybe not to that certain extent that we did at that time, but it's definitely still a medium. I think that, the visual aspect of, audio is one thing, but then having the visual component too is a really neat aspect. And, obviously there's so many people who are on social media in some capacity. The more exposure, the better, like just the next set of ears that gets exposed to your music is why not, I guess is my mindset with that.
I think you should go play the Sphere in Vegas.
Dude,
but the visuals
me twice. I would be way I'll tell you what, I will play in a closet, or I will play at Red Rocks or the Sphere or wherever. I mean, you don't have to ask me twice. I love the creation aspect, but the live setting is something. Okay. And venues like that, wow. I mean, just the possibilities are endless for a great show.
Yeah, it brings in a whole nother art, right? The visual arts become even more of a thing.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time. We went way long on you. And you're so fascinating. I feel like we need to bring you back. There needs to be a second set, I think.
Hey, anytime. Love to connect with you guys. This is great. Great to meet you and chat and go down, take a walk down memory lane.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I can't wait to see you. I'll be there for sure at Riverside.
Awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, we're doing the bus before that at 5:30, and which is always fun. I don't know if you guys have done the bus before.
It's been a few years.
So fun, so fun. And then we'll do Riverside at 7:30 if you guys can make it. So
yeah, absolutely,
100%. I'm going to update the app schedule as soon as we get off of this. So
right on, awesome.
Yeah, and we'll check you out. I mean, you're all over the place. I'm definitely going to check you out. I've seen a lot of live music lately, and I haven't seen you, and that's a mistake on my end.
Yeah, yep. On obviously all the Facebook pages for the respective projects, and you can see we're playing primarily. The most that I play with is A-Town Unplugged, and then Eric Krueger and the Sheesh.
Yep. I love that Sheesh. I love that word.
Leading the Blind is playing at Oktoberfest again, so we'll be doing that. So yeah, we don't play as much with that one, but we still have the itch to play loud rock and roll, so we do that.
Yeah. Who doesn't love loud rock and roll?
Right.
Newsa-Cast listeners, you are about to hear a clip of the great Green Bay Packer offensive lineman Jerry Kramer back to 1993. You can hear this full throwback to the Red Smith on our YouTube channel on Sundays. We encourage you to go there. And, if you don't want to miss them, you probably should be subscribing. So please hit that YouTube channel, hit like, hit subscribe, and enjoy this clip with Jerry Kramer.
Red Smith Sports Awards Banquet Throwback.
The Red Smith Award, of course, goes to someone who has made some unique contributions to sport in Wisconsin and also epitomizes the great values that Red Smith exhibited.
Let's give a Red Smith welcome.
1993 Red Smith Sports Award presented to Jerry Kramer for your outstanding contribution to the Green Bay Packers and the sports in Wisconsin. Good luck and God bless you, and we're very proud of you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that brings back memories. Nice to see the block again. I haven't seen it for about a week, 10 days, huh? I think that was the only play in the history of the game as far as I was concerned. I can't stand here and visit with you without saying a couple things about Coach Lombardi. You can't help but notice the bright young faces that come up here this evening for the awards, and what a wonderful thing it is to see, and it makes you feel good about tomorrow. You can't help but look at the coaches and look at all the contributors, all the people that have helped put this dinner together and helped put these young people together, and think of the positive influence that ripples out across a community when one person makes a commitment like that. Coach Lombardi had a profound impact on me and all the Green Bay Packers, and far beyond the football field, into the business community, into probably many aspects of community life. But each and every one of these award winners and each and every one of these people here this evening have an opportunity to continue that ripple and to keep it going, and I would encourage you to do that. I learned so many things from Vincent Thomas Lombardi. Commitment, consistency, intensity, preparation, discipline, perseverance. But I think perhaps one of the most important things is he pointed out to me the gap between what I was as a human being and what I could be. He saw a potential in me that I didn't see and that I didn't understand. And he gave me a thirst and a quest, a hunger to be just a little bit more and do it just a little bit better and go just a little bit farther every day of my life. He gave us so many lessons. I think of Marv Fleming, our big tight end. I don't know if you remember Marv, 6'5", black kid from California, great personality, funny kid. 6'5", about 245, and you'd normally expect Marvin to have one of those real deep voices. Marvin had a real high, squeaky voice. We would take turns leading calisthenics out there on Lombardi Avenue, and when Marvin would get up in front of the group to lead calisthenics, there would be 45 guys doing their side straddle hops going 1, 2, 3, 4. If you drove down the avenue, you'd get us all a Merlin Olsen pick-me-up bouquet. Judge, I would like to be in the Hall of Fame. It would be a great honor. But my life has been so full of honors and so full of pluses and so full of gifts. I said to somebody yesterday, it was like I had received 500 gifts. And I would not be unhappy because I hadn't received 501 gifts. The game has been great to me. You people have been great to me. Everything about the game has been great to me. And I...
2-minute warning.
And I gotta go. Continue the positive impact, folks. Keep the ripple going. Spread it out throughout the community. And thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been a wonderful evening for me. Thanks.
All right, Tosh, that was another fantastic throwback. Jerry Kramer this week. Folks, don't forget that you can get those in full video, full audio every Sunday on the Newsa-Cast YouTube page. While you're there, please, please, please hit like and subscribe. You heard Eric talk about social media, the importance of that. It's equally important to us too. So any help you can give us there and spreading the word is much appreciated. Well, Tosh, we're getting close to the end of the show, but before we leave, you and I like to forget a few things and remember a few things in our little segment called It's Forgotten and I'm Never Forgetting. So, Tosh, what is forgotten in your world?
Well, just finished the summer season of lacrosse, and one thing I want to forget, and it didn't happen to me, luckily, I was smart, are sports parents' sunburns. And the amount of parents who are telling their kids to put on sunscreen, but don't do it themselves. And they're sitting out there watching their kids, and they look like a giant tomato by the end of the weekend.
Don't do as I do as I say.
Yeah. There are so many people, especially last weekend in Madison, that were bright red on Sunday after sitting outside all day on Saturday. So we're going to be forgetting about sunburns and the sports parents who aren't doing what they're telling their kids to do.
Yeah, it creeps up on you, man. And that's, you don't feel it. And then all of a sudden you're just beaming red at night. And it's a little tough to sleep.
Exactly. So I'm sure you've probably had some of those, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. I've been victim of them as well. I've screwed up the sunscreen routine once in a while, but yeah. It's funny, right? Come Sunday, you can just see like their shoulders and neck are as red can possibly be.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially when you're sitting on the turf and it gets a little toasty. So
oh my gosh, yeah, that's even worse. Exactly. Cooking in an oven.
All right, Joe. So enough about sunburns. How about yourself? What do you forgot?
Well, Tosh, speaking of cooking in an oven and red, it's the roof of my mouth is forgotten, Tosh. It's gone. You and I were on a quick, you and I, we try to record these whenever we can, usually have to work around my crazy schedule. And that means I have to eat quickly. And most of the time I will eat a frozen pizza. Dub gets a kick out of this. I eat a lot of frozen pizzas, Tosh. That's one of my obsessions. But anyway, I ate one of those and hopped online, took a bite. Holy cow, I sizzled everything on the roof of my mouth. So I'm speaking with a lisp a little bit. I'm playing hurt, Tosh. I'm podcasting hurt. My mouth is forgotten.
Some good grits. Nice job.
I appreciate it. Well, we got to get out of something good while I drink milk, I think is what's going to help this. So how about you, Tosh? What's never forgotten in your world?
Well, we have a lot of beautiful summer nights in Wisconsin. Yeah. And it's easy to forget some of these nights when it gets into like the 60s by about 7 or 8 o'clock and there's no humidity and it's just absolutely gorgeous out. We forget about the nice times and why we live in Wisconsin with 4 seasons. And we just think about the humidity and, it's so humid and stuff like that. But, absolutely beautiful summer nights. And this is, the week that we're recording this. I know this is a week after, but what a great week for EAA as well. And some beautiful summer nights for that also.
It's been gorgeous, Tosh. I know we had a lot of rain this year, but it seems like the last few weeks here, you're right. We've had some just beautiful, beautiful nights. See the stars, even the nights when it's a little cloudy and muggy. Sometimes that feels pretty good in the summer, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's better than the minus 30 in the winter, right?
Oh yeah. Sitting on the back porch with a lemonade. You got that right.
Sure. Yeah. Lemonade. Okay.
Yeah. I like lemonade, Tosh.
Maybe something else, but
WAP.
No, not anymore. How about you, Joe?
What's WAP, Tosh?
What are you never forgetting?
Well, I'm never forgetting WAP, Tosh. I'm never going to forget WAP. We need to bring that back.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Can I pivot to WAP? Well, Tosh, Eric Krueger reminded me of this. They have been around for a long, long time, and that's the Appleton Boys Choir. That's something that we can't forget. I mean, they always have one of the greatest Christmas tradition and Christmas shows. It's usually at the chapel at Lawrence. That's almost a must see to get you in the holiday spirit. But more so is just kind of the alum and the folks that went through. I mean, Eric talked about him, and he's an alum of the Appleton Boys Choir. I've actually, after he said that, I started thinking about it, and there's several people that I know, and even some other musicians that have gone through that program, and that's pretty cool. I mean, you and I, we're focusing on the community. We focus on sports actually quite a bit, but here's another community program that's actually making a difference, that's changing lives, redirecting lives. I think without the Boys Choir, you probably never hear of Eric Krueger, right?
Yeah, possibly not. I think didn't Corey Chisel possibly go through the Boys Choir as well?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
he's mentioned that. So yeah, cool. That is an awesome organization for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Well, awesome organization. I would say an awesome episode. Thank you again to Eric Krueger for a great interview. And Milo Music, Tosh. Milo Music. That's where we're off to and what we're doing.
Right. Head on down. Check it out. It's going to be amazing. Always is.
Absolutely. Well, fare thee well, folks.
Thank you for listening to another great episode of the Newsa-Cast. We'd really appreciate it if you hit up our social pages, subscribe, like, follow, and don't be afraid to engage. Head over to our YouTube channel to get exclusive content like the full interviews and speeches from the past Red Smith banquets.
A huge thank you to Digstown for all the music in today's episode. Catch a gig or find them on Spotify.